Good morning. I was going to say on this bright and cheery August morning, but I have to say dingy August morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Grand Traverse. Welcome to our Zoom visitors who are here from Petoskey, Badenoch, and Marquette, along with Reverend Alex. We understand the importance of promoting justice and equality while respecting differences and diversity. We listen to each other and communicate with openness, kindness, support, and mutual respect. If we have any visitors today, we would love it if you would feel comfortable standing up and telling us your name. One of our people will come around with a microphone. So do we have any visitors? All right.
My name is Miles. I'm from Maine.
Good morning, everybody. My name's Charles Pratt. I'm from Tampa, Florida, and I'm here visiting my brother and my mother, who's with me. That's Suzanne. It's my brother Dana, and with him is Anne.
Hi, I'm Elijah, and we just moved here from New Mexico.
Eric.
I'm Amy.
Everett.
I'm Audrey. This is Judy. We're from Petoskey.
My brother and his wife were among the original members of this church in Traverse City. It would have been...
What was their name?
John and Sandy Skull. They were among the original members.
Thank you. Thank you for being so welcoming this morning.
I'm Christy. We're visiting from Ypsilanti.
And I'm Christina, also from Ypsilanti.
Anybody else? Summertime's when we get lots of visitors. Thank you. So if, let's see, during the coffee hour, please take a yellow cup, and we will try and talk to you during coffee hour as well. Okay, we consider ourselves a community, and to my left, on your right, is the joys and concerns table, where you can write down any joy or concern, and Reverend Alice will read them later in the service. Now, please turn off your phone or other mechanical device, and let's begin the service.
Good morning. It's so good to be with you. I'm the Reverend Alice Diebel. I am from Dayton, Ohio, but I serve the congregations in Petoskey, Marquette, and Badenoch. Good morning, all of you who are joining us from cyberspace. I have met Reverend Alex a few times in the Michigan Ministers Cluster, and we chatted, and the inspiration for this service comes from the Unitarian Universalist Ministers Association, which has a purpose statement that closes with the words, "Because we need one another." This morning I'm here from Petoskey, and these three congregations that I mentioned worship together once a month usually. It gives us a larger presence. It gives us an opportunity to have more joy and more commitment in what we do. It's good to be with you, and thank you, Margie, for It's a Wonderful Life as our prelude this morning. I'm going to light our chalice. We are one, a diverse group of proudly kindred spirits, here not by coincidence, but because we choose to journey together. We are active and proactive. We care deeply. We live our love as best we can. We are one, working, eating, laughing, playing, singing, storytelling, sharing and rejoicing, getting to know each other, taking risks, opening up, questioning, seeking, searching, trying to understand, struggling, making mistakes, paying attention, asking questions, listening, living our answers, learning to love our neighbors, learning to love ourselves, apologizing and forgiving with humility, and being forgiven through grace and the beloved community together. We are one. Words from Hope Johnson. Our opening hymn is number 347, Gather the Spirit. The words will be on the screen. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit and join in singing.
Gather the Spirit, harvest the poor. Our separate fires will kindle one flame. Witness the mystery of His love. Our trials in this light appear all the same. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then, gather in hope, compassion and strength, gather to celebrate once again. Gather the spirit of heart and mind. Seeds for the sowing are laid in store. Nurtured in love and conscience refined, with body and spirit united more. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then, gather in hope, compassion and strength, gather to celebrate once again. Gather the Spirit growing in all, drawn by the moon and fed by the sun, winter to spring and summer to fall, the chorus of life resounding as one. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then, gather in hope, compassion and strength, gather to celebrate once again.
This is the time in our service where we honor the joys and concerns that are held in our hearts and sometimes expressed on this page. Mike and Janet say, in appreciation for all the UUCGT, Congregation Grand Traverse, members who have written and sent over 2,500 postcards to get out the vote. That's worth celebrating. Yeah. And Mike Radel, sorry, expressing joy for my son Mike, who just returned from Australia, and his success in establishing world peace museums. Lovely, lovely, yeah. Will you join me, please, in a moment of prayer or meditation as we reflect on all that is in our lives? Living Spirit that moves among us, we are grateful for the time we share across the miles, grateful for the actions we carry forward in the world to make peace and democracy live. We also know that many carry sorrows, losses, grief that may not be expressed today. We are in community to support one another when times are hard. I have words from Leslie Takahashi this morning. We who have no all-knowing deity to whom to regulate all the heartbreaks and complexities of human hatreds often feel alone. We are held only in our search for truth. We who are not sure of what is larger than us are sometimes left with a sense of burden when the world is troubled. Our prayers witness and affirm mindful actions. We witness the voices of generations raised in opposition to one another. We witness strife and conflict and long for the one simple answer we know can never be. Our hope is to be open to new wisdoms and ancient truths. In our angers at the state of the world, we can lash out or are tempted to retreat within our own hearts. We are known in community. May we continue to strive to know one another in community. Amen. May it be so. Please remain seated and we will sing hymn number 123, Spirit of Life.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life a shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
We operate under a free church tradition, but church is not free. This morning we will collect our offering, and I know that some portion of the offering is given to various causes, but I don't know what they are. So please give generously in service of this place and in service of our community. While the offering plates are passed, Margie will play How Can I Keep From Singing?
Love is the power that holds us together and is at the center of our shared values. We are accountable to one another for doing the work of living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love. Interdependence. We honor the interdependent web of existence. With reverence for the great web of life and with humility, we acknowledge our place in it. We covenant to protect Earth and all beings from exploitation. We will create and nurture sustainable relationships of care and respect, mutuality, and justice. We will work to repair harm and damaged relationships.
Words from our Unitarian Universalist Association, Values and Covenant. When I arrive at a Unitarian Universalist congregation, especially for the first time, I can almost always count on a couple of things. There will be a chalice and the ritual of lighting it. The flaming chalice has been a symbol of ours since World War II. It was a symbol of safety and freedom in Europe. It was developed by Hans Deutsch back in 1941, commissioned by the Unitarian Service Committee. It has grown over the years to a nearly universal symbol for us, and we lit one this morning. We wear chalices as jewelry. People have them in their homes, and we recognize each other by them. I'm not sure the larger non-Unitarian Universalist community recognizes what they mean, but for us, they bond us to each other. The other thing I can count on when I visit a new congregation is there will be some kind of statement of justice, some kind of banner or something, Black Lives Matter, trans rainbow flags, wheelchair icons, side with love banners, something somewhere. You have a Pride Forward flag on your front door and a Love is Love poster out there, so I can count on that. I look for what your walls say about you. These symbols are far more recognizable outside the congregation's walls. The banners bridge us to the larger world. We need both the bonds with each other as well as the bridges to the larger community. These symbols can tie us together and remind us that we need one another to be strong and vibrant, to thrive during these very trying times, and to work toward our mission with others. Your mission statement on the back of your order of service I found compelling, and it does both bonding and bridging. Building beloved community, making good trouble, really like that one. Embodying radical love, engaging in lifelong learning, and you covenant together to be accountable for me, you're accountable for you, but in community we hold each other in joy and conflict. We openly welcome all as we respond to the needs of the world. That is what we need. We need one another to live up to our purpose, our mission, our values. And it is through coming together, it is through accountability, it is through radical love and liberating ministry in this world that we make a difference. At Reverend Alex's suggestion last winter, we invited the Petoskey and Grand Traverse congregations to get together on Zoom and write a few holiday greetings to people incarcerated, especially Unitarian Universalists who are incarcerated but are part of the Worthy Now program of the Church of the Larger Fellowship. My ministry is in prison and reentry when I'm not working with Petoskey, so that was a great connection for us. Now, not many people participated, but we really had a good time, and I hope more people will participate next year. We'll see if we do that again. We sent over 120 letters, and even though these messages arrive in someone's cell and you're a stranger to them, It helps them know that they are recognized, that they have dignity, that they're respected, that they're loved, and that they have you siblings. It's a good example of how bonding can make a difference. Misty read a few words a minute ago on our interdependence, right? We will create and nurture sustainable relationships of care and respect, mutuality, and justice. I love the language we use and how action-oriented it is, but it's kind of hard to get there. We live in really challenging times with people spewing divisive language about nearly everything. The country is no longer bonding or bridging. We are isolating and excluding. We need one another to tackle these big issues that affect communities and the nation, such as disparities in education, economic prosperity, housing, healthcare, and the environment, to name a few. But we seem to have lost a sense of common ground. The level of book banning or anti-trans bathroom bills around the country are a case in point. How did we get to such a place? How on earth do we get out of it? I know one thing, and that is that we need one another not only to change it, but to get through it. You may remember a book from quite a long time ago now, published in the year 2000, called Bowling Alone by Robert Putnam. That's hard to believe that was 24 years ago. Since that time, since that book was written, we've had 9/11, a global pandemic, and an insurrection at the Capitol, to name a few, right? So things maybe have changed a little. Putnam said that we, those of us in the US, have stopped joining things. We don't go to clubs, we don't join groups. They used to be essential to our sense of community. They were places where we met people of different identities and mindsets and politics. Putnam's remedy is that we should all join things because joining is down. Well, Putnam was a Harvard professor of political science, and he just released a new documentary, kind of an update, called Join or Die, which was an update to Bowling Alone. He was interviewed by Lulu Garcia Navarro in the New York Times Magazine. In the interview, he said this: "I think we're in a really important turning point in American history. What I wrote in Bowling Alone is even more relevant now, because what we've seen over the last 25 years is a deepening and intensifying of that trend of bowling alone. We've become more socially isolated, and we can see it in every facet of our lives. We can see it in the Surgeon General's talk about loneliness. He's been talking recently about the psychological state of being lonely. Social isolation leads to a lot of bad things. It's bad for your health, and it's really bad for the country. Because people who are isolated, and especially young men who are isolated, are vulnerable to the appeals of some false community. I can cite," Putnam says, "chapter and verse on this. Eager recruits to the Nazi Party in the 1930s were lonely young German men. And it's not an accident that the people attracted today to white nationalist groups are lonely young white men. Loneliness. It's bad for your health, but it's bad for the health of the people around you." Putnam goes on to say that ties that link you to people like yourself are called bonding social capital. So my ties, he says, speaking from his identity, my ties to other elderly male white Jewish professors, that's my bonding social capital. And bridging social capital is your bond to people who might be unlike you. So my ties to people of a different generation, a different gender, or a different religion, or a different politic, or whatever, that's my bridging social capital. I'm not saying bridging good, bonding bad, because if you get sick, the people who bring you chicken soup are the people you're bonded with. But I am saying that in a diverse society like ours, we need a lot of bridging social capital. And some forms of bonding social capital are really bad. The KKK is pure social capital bonding. Social capital, it can be useful, but it can be extremely dangerous. So far, so good, except that bridging social capital is harder to build than bonding social capital. That's the challenge, as I see it, of America today. So you see, too much bonding can be dangerous. I don't think that's the case for UUs, but it may be. I mean, I don't know. I just don't see it necessarily, but maybe we don't always see it. We often want to escape the world and be among people like ourselves, don't we? Oh, such a relief. I don't want to be around those people. I don't want to go there. I can't stand them. I don't think we'll be able to make the changes we want to see in the world if we're only bonding with each other. And change is needed now more than ever. Putnam says we are in the second Gilded Age. You know, that period of the late 1800s where the rich sucked up all the riches for themselves. Mark Twain coined the term. He called it an era of corruption that was covered with gold. He says we're in a second Gilded Era, and it is known for its economic growth for the wealthy and extreme poverty for the working class. The Gilded Age is an example of every person for themselves, rather than the idea that we're all in this together. I, me, mine. Putnam says it takes a sense of morality to recognize that we have obligations to other people. And he says, now suddenly I'm no longer the social scientist, I'm a preacher. We're not going to fix polarization, inequality, social isolation until, first of all, we start to feel we have an obligation to other people. Putnam likes to use the example of the bowling league. That was his first book. He said, it ought to be fun. You don't bowl so you can build a better community. You bowl because it's fun. And in the doing of the bowling, in a team, you're hanging out with folks, and sometimes you're talking about the latest TV show, or occasionally you might talk about the garbage pickup in town. That's democracy. So you see, the things we do to bond matter a lot. And Putnam's research shows that your chances of dying over the next year are cut in half by joining one group. Invite your friends to church. Yet what do we see? Bowling leagues are down, church attendance down, dinner parties down, clubs, mutual obligations, all down. We no longer trust our neighbors, and we're lonely, isolated, and divided. It's a perfect recipe for radical extremist groups. Our bonding social capital matters to us, and trust me, I'm a fan. But what about the bridging social capital? It's a lot harder to do in some ways. One approach is to work with different faith traditions or community groups to organize for change. Some of these groups may have different ideas about one thing or another than we do, but you might have a shared value that you care about, and that's where you work together. Mark R. Warren edited a book about educational justice called Lift Us Up, Don't Push Us Out. One story in the book was told by Jeffrey Winder, and it is pertinent to today's concerns, especially around anti-trans legislation and ongoing efforts to undermine LGBTQ+ youth. Winder wrote, I first became involved with LGBTQ issues when I was 16 and attending a high school in Davis, California. I came out at age 15, and I was the only student at my school. It was the late 90s, and this level of awareness and public acceptance of LGBTQ issues was still just beginning. There were very few TV shows about LGBTQ people, and the internet barely existed. Will and Grace first aired in 1998, the same year that Matthew Shepard was murdered in a brutal anti-gay hate crime. Winder goes on, He says, I identify as a queer multiracial person of color. I am African American and Korean and also gay. I grew up as an interracial transnational adoptee in a suburban, predominantly white college town. Needless to say, I've had an intense and intimate relationship with the concept of intersectionality for a long time. Winder says he started a gay-straight alliance at the high school to feel less alone and find community. GSAs are now called Genders and Sexualities Alliances to include people who are trans or non-binary. Once the students got together, they realized they could really do more than just meet and talk about their lives, as important as that was. Winder wrote, we could actually try to make the school better for LGBTQ youth. At first, we were just trying to make people realize LGBTQ students go to this school. We also organized a campaign like the Day of Silence, in which people wouldn't speak for an entire day as a demonstration of how people are silenced in their identities. Already you can see it. It's gay and straight together, faculty involvement, and in their coming together, they learned more about bridging. The work of Jeffrey did spread. GSAs started organizing around the country, one school, one community, one generation at a time. The network of GSAs started to notice that most of these groups were in predominantly white, suburban, and well-funded schools. They learned that the school-to-prison pipeline was going strong and that LGBTQ youth of color were affected by it. They would be placed in alternative schools with zero-tolerance policies. Teachers punished students for things like dress code violations or for expressing their own views on their rights. For example, a zero-tolerance policy might apply anti-bullying tactics to everything, even if it's the queer youth who has been bullied. Youth would be disciplined for defending themselves, and there's no chance to repair the harm. Zero tolerance excludes and isolates. Insert sermon for the future on restorative justice. The GSA collaborated with other groups in the community to make systems changes. They ended suspensions for behavior that were clearly subjective, such as willful defiance or disruptive behavior. What does it say if you're suspended for that? It says you're not welcome. The youth began thinking about the big picture and about their obligations to others. These programs and relationships have made changes for the better. And now we have new pushback, of course, because we've made some progress. It means we need to organize with others to ensure the voice of queer youth is heard and supported by allies and protected by institutions. I encourage you to start attending library board meetings, school board meetings, pay attention to what's going on in these places. What if the Traverse City UUs joined with the United Methodist Church to focus on LGBTQ+ issues or to work with others on the school-to-prison pipeline? There is a network in Michigan starting that kind of work. Share the load, enlarge the voice. We may be in a new gilded age, but it's not gilded with gold alone anymore. Today's era is covering exclusion and hatred with the flag. We need one another within our UU faith, symbolized by the chalice. We need one another within our communities to ensure that everyone is welcome. We need one another within this state to prevent harmful and oppressive policies. We need to work with others of different identities, but want to promote shared values. They're out there. And thus we need to learn to bond without becoming isolated, and we need to learn to bridge without losing our values, and none of it is easy or instant. May we continue to support one another during difficult times. May we continue to address injustices by partnering across our differences. May we build beloved community make good trouble, and embody radical love. May it be so, and may we make it so. Amen. Please rise in body or spirit and join in singing hymn 1014. The words are answering the call of love rather than standing on the side of love, because our language, we don't want our language to reflect ableism.
So when we get to the chorus, it is answering the call of love, if you're following along in the teal hymnal.
The promise of the Spirit, faith, hope, and love abide, and so every soul is blessed and made whole. The truth of our hearts is our guide. We are answering the call of love. Hands joined together as hearts beat as one, emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim we are answering the call of love. Sometimes we build a barrier to keep love tightly bound, corrupted by fear, unwilling to hear, denying the beauty we found. We are answering the call of love. Hands joined together as hearts beat as one, emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim we are answering the call of love. A bright new day is dawning, when love will not divide. Reflections of grace in every embrace, fulfilling the vision divine. We are answering the call of love. Hands joined together as hearts beat as one, emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim we are answering the call of love. We are answering the call of love.
We may extinguish the chalice, but we carry the flame with us, along with our shared values, which tell us that love is the power that holds us together and is at the center. And through love, we go forth to create and nurture sustainable relationships of care, respect, mutuality, and justice. We leave blessed by our connections to one another, to the spirit of life. Walk lightly, that you see the life that is below your feet. Spread your arms as if you had wings and could dance through the air. Feel the joy of the breath in your lungs and the fire in your heart. Live to love and be a blessing on this earth, says Susan Carlson. Thank you. We have some announcements, I think. No announcements? No announcements. Okay, then. I think we have coffee. We have coffee hour. All right. And cookies. Yeah. All right. Thank you all online who joined us today. Good to be with you. Thank you to all who put this service together. Grateful to you.